What if I told you that one of the hottest, driest countries on Earth is secretly creating its own rivers? Normally, Saudi Arabia is known for oil and immense wealth, but behind this glitter and shine, a deeply unsettling reality is hidden. This Arab country may be extremely rich, but at the same time it is deprived of one of nature's most important blessings, water. It is like having a palace of gold, but only 2 sips of drinking water. Saudi Arabia is the largest country in the world that does not have a single natural river. About 98% of its land consists of scorching sand, and rainfall is almost negligible. But now, right in the middle of that same desert, where for miles only silent dunes can be seen, Saudi Arabia has started building its own rivers. These are not ordinary rivers. Here, instead of water flowing down from mountains, water is being pushed uphill against gravity. Thousands of kilometers long freshwater pipelines, and an artificial river network that appears to challenge the laws of nature. But the real question is, when this country has no water at all, where is this water coming from? And the most astonishing thing is, how did this impossible task become possible? Viewers, you all must know that Saudi Arabia's climate is extremely hot and dry. For example, in its capital Riyadh, the annual average rainfall is only 116 millimeters. While its population was 3 million in 1950, today it has crossed more than 26 million. And this growing demand has put an unbearable pressure on water reserves. But when Saudi Arabia has no natural rivers, where does the fresh water come from? To meet its needs, for a very long time, the Saudi kingdom extracted water from deep underground aquifers. This water is also called fossil water, which accumulates underground over millions of years, and it would also take millions of years to refill. In a way, this is a non-renewable water reserve. For several decades, Saudi Arabia was fulfilling nearly 70% of its water needs by extracting this fossil water, and then the consequences of this excessive use turned out to be terrifying. NASA's Grace satellite mission report left Saudi rulers shocked when it revealed that between 2002 and 2016, underground water reserves in Saudi Arabia were disappearing at a rate of nearly 2 cubic kilometers per year. That means Saudi Arabia was using 2 trillion liters of fossil water every year. If calculated, at that time Saudi Arabia's population was 18 million, and each person was receiving about 310 liters of water per day, whereas the global average human uses up to 150 liters of water per day. This is exactly like using a battery that can never be recharged. On one hand, there were no rivers, and on the other hand, Saudi Arabia was recklessly draining its only water source. But what was the reason behind this excessive use? The water crisis intensified even more when, in the 1970s, the government decided that instead of depending on other countries, it would grow wheat domestically. This plan was started with good intentions, but it literally destroyed water conservation. The government provided subsidies for wheat farming and encouraged farmers, which rapidly increased agriculture, and by 2003, 85% of the country's water usage was being consumed by the agriculture sector alone. This mistake drained water reserves so rapidly that within 3 decades, the government had to shut down the wheat farming plan. Seeing this disaster, it was decided that the remaining fossil water would be saved only for emergencies. Now, if Saudi Arabia would not even use its only water source, then where would it bring fresh water from? This groundbreaking project is a plan to build the world's largest artificial river, a task that is revolutionary not only in scale, but also in thinking. This man-made river, stretching nearly 12,000 kilometers, is being constructed underground. Work on such a massive scale is happening for the first time in the world. Under this project, approximately 9.4 million cubic meters, or 9.4 billion liters, of water will be produced daily. This water will be obtained through advanced desalination technology. Through this technology, the salty water of the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf will be converted into drinkable freshwater. This artificial river will travel underground so that evaporation losses are minimized in the extreme desert heat. Its width and depth are designed in such a way that water can reach different parts of the country with a continuous non-stop flow, even to those areas that suffer the most from water shortages or are located on mountaintops. This project is not just a plan to deliver water, but through this plan, Saudi Arabia wants to revive its dream of self-agriculture. That is, grow its own crops and not depend on others, a dream that was considered impossible on such land. Through this sustainable and unlimited water supply, Saudi Arabia wants to grow greenery on its barren land so that dependence on food imports can be reduced and the economy can be diversified beyond oil. The width of this artificial river is 11 meters and its depth is 4 meters, and this entire network will astonishingly spread across 12,000 kilometers. To transport water to remote areas, special anti-corrosion pipes with a diameter of 2.25 meters are being used. This pipe network is so massive that its length could be more than twice that of the Nile River, which clearly reflects the scale of this project. This engineering marvel is not just creating a new source of water, but a system that had never even been imagined in the world before. Because if these pipes alone were laid straight, they could circle the entire world. Through pipe networks, water will be transported across the entire country. But the biggest challenge here is turning salty seawater into fresh water. Along the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, 28 desalination plants have been built. Their job is not only to separate salt from water, but to do so with less electricity, less energy, and less pollution. This task is not easy at all, especially when demand is extremely high and there is not a single natural water resource. The first technology is multi-stage distillation, huge plants that separate salt from water. The process sounds very simple. Heat the water, turn it into steam, and then condense it. But its scale is truly mind-blowing. Imagine hundreds of steel tanks as long as football fields, where seawater is boiled. Then it is sent to another chamber, where pressure is gradually reduced, allowing the water to evaporate at a lower temperature. This steam is then condensed and collected as fresh water in another chamber. The biggest advantage of this process is that it can work on a very large scale, and the remaining steam is used to spin turbines, so that some of the energy used to heat the water can be recovered by generating electricity again. Besides distillation, another technology is rapidly being developed in Saudi Arabia, and that is reverse osmosis. This technology is inspired by the biology of human cells. In reverse osmosis, seawater is passed through an ultra-thin polymer membrane. The pores of this membrane are extremely tiny, so tiny that if 1 square inch were divided into 1 million parts, only one part would be that small. These pores are so fine that not even a virus, let alone salt, can pass through. This system filters out up to 99% of salt and minerals and produces perfectly pure water. The most impressive part of this technology is its energy efficiency. Due to pressure recovery devices, modern reverse osmosis plants use only 2.8 kilowatt hours of electricity to produce 1,000 liters of water. That is roughly the same amount of power used by a household water pump. Today, 66% of Saudi Arabia's water demand is met through desalination. Along with this, more than 500 dams have been built across the country. Their total storage capacity is approximately 2 billion cubic meters. For example, King Fahd Dam can store more than 325 million cubic meters of water, making it the largest dam in the country. These reserves not only provide drinking water to millions of people, but also support agriculture in the desert and help recharge underground aquifers. But another question must be coming to your mind. When so much salt is separated daily from water, what happens to that salt? Remember, 1 liter of seawater contains about 35 grams of salt. So if Saudi Arabia produces 9.4 billion liters of fresh water daily, that means around 329,000 tons of salt are left behind every day. How heavy is that? To give you an idea, the heaviest animal in the world is the blue whale, and it weighs only about 200 tons. So this salt is released back into the sea. Due to releasing such a large amount of salt in one place, many dead coral zones now exist in the Red Sea, where marine life has almost disappeared. Experts call this an invisible danger of desalination, because if this waste is released directly into the ocean, both water temperature and salinity increase, which can become a threat to the entire coastal ecosystem. To avoid this new disaster, the Saudi government is now working on deep-sea multi-diffusers. Through this, instead of dumping brine at one location, it will be released at multiple locations in the ocean. Even the idea of brine mining is under consideration, where magnesium, potassium, and rare minerals can be extracted from salt and turned into a valuable resource while reducing waste. Today, Saudi Arabia has become the world's largest producer of desalinated water. Not only that, the Guinness Book has recognized its water delivery network as the world's largest pipeline network, and this network continues to expand. Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman's target is that by 2030, 100% of the country's water requirements will be met through this method. Another astonishing sight of this project can be seen on the mountains. Laying pipelines on mountains 10,000 feet high is a difficult task in itself, but to push water uphill through these pipes, massive water pumping stations are installed. These pumping stations operate 24/7, continuously pumping water. These pumping stations alone consume 9% of Saudi Arabia's total electricity. It is just like rivers flowing uphill instead of flowing down from the mountains. Saudi Arabia's underground river is not just a massive pipeline network, but a declaration that water scarcity can be eliminated with the help of technology. This project is still very new, and the world is expecting further improvements in it. Today, the situation is that a country with not a single natural river, no natural water resource at all, will host the World Water Forum in 2027. All of this tells the world that even inhospitable environments can be transformed into something better and future-proof with courage and technology. And this message from Saudi Arabia opens a new path for many countries and entire region. Hopefully, you will also like and share this video generously. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.